saying that it takes a village to raise a child. I'm really interested in the question, what does it take to raise the village? Now, Brushy Fork was established 24 years ago with the mission of helping to promote positive change in Appalachia by contributing to the development of leadership that would make a difference in the region. So this question about what it takes to raise a village is right at the core of Brushy Fork's mission. Now, John Stevenson was the president of Berea College when he founded the Institute, and John was one of the leading Appalachian scholars of his day. In fact, before he came to be president of Berea, he was the director of the Appalachian Center at the University of Kentucky in Lexington. Now, here's what he said. John said, "The people of Appalachia themselves have the wisdom and the vision and the commitment to guide the development of their own communities." And his words have always guided our work. We get it. You cannot transform someone else's community. You can't raise someone else's village. So our job has always been to work with the people on the ground, the citizen leaders, the people like you. Our work has been around bringing people together, providing training and resources and information and connections. For the first 17 years, we ran a leadership development program that served more than 1,000 people across the region. Now, we learned a lot from that program. And one notion that we encountered many, many times is the idea that there's an interplay between the individual, the organization, and the community. Now, that's not a new idea, but it led us to the creation of something that we call the Brushy Fork Leadership Model. You've got to have a model if you're going to be in this work. Now, I want to spend a little time today talking through the various pieces of this model and how we see them fitting together. First, I want to say that in the early years, we didn't talk a lot about individual leaders. Actually, the notion of the individual leader carries a fair amount of baggage, particularly in a context where leadership has been tightly held by a small number of people, where a lot of voices have not always been heard. Now, that's a legacy that in many ways has prevented the communities in Appalachia from moving forward. So our leadership program originally focused a lot on team leadership and building strong organizations, and that was good work. But you know what? We were missing something. As we explored stories of remarkable success, we saw over and over again that there's a critical element in the dynamics of making things happen in the community. Like the spark that lights a fire, it takes someone who is fired up, who has a vision, who's passionate about that vision, and who realizes that they can't do it alone, so they need to gain the trust of other people so that they can work together. And we call these people spark plugs. So we put vision, passion, and trust at the center of this model as critical elements for the individual leader. Dr. Vaughn Grisham is the director of the McLean Institute at Ole Miss. He's been a longtime mentor and friend, and he's been studying all of this a lot longer than we have. Here's what Vaughn says about community spark plugs.
There are those people that can mobilize and who are better than that. But still there is a role for everyone to play. And there's no question that after 40 years of research in the field, there may be such a thing as a natural-born leader, but I have yet to meet that person. What we find in all of our research is that frequently the whole process begins with discontent the way things are. They don't begin, we find, often with a clear vision of where to go, but they know that the present situation is intolerable.
They don't know where to begin, but they know that the present situation is intolerable. For the last few years, we've been trying to learn more about the role that spark plugs play in community transformation, to learn what makes them tick, how they do what they do. So we gathered a group of folks whose work we've been watching for a while, and we asked them to share some of their time with us to help us learn from them, and so that they could learn from each other. And we all got fired up. One of the spark plugs is Jerry Roll. And Jerry was instrumental in creating a child care center in Hazard, Kentucky. This is not your average child care center. This provides absolute top quality child care for 300 kids every day. 300. How'd you like to have that in your community? Well, that'll never work here, right? Is anybody hearing that in the back of their head? You're gonna go home and somebody's gonna say, that'll never work here. Well, they might have told Jerry that in Hazard too. I don't think it would have worked. Now, Jerry will tell you that it took a lot of people to make that happen. But if you talk to those people, they'll tell you that it wouldn't have happened without Jerry.
So the things that I've done in my community have really all been about just being there and being a part of that community. Fighting for childcare came out of the fact that I needed childcare. And I figured if I needed it, there were probably other mothers out there that needed it too. And I didn't particularly want to settle for just whatever I could get or whatever person might be available to keep 10 or 12 kids in their house. You know, I thought we should have really good child care, and why can't we have it?
So it starts with a personal problem. I needed child care. And that's often where the journey begins. There's a personal problem. There's self-interest involved. And there's nothing wrong with that. What spark plugs do is they take that and they push it outward. And that personal problem becomes a vision.
What I do even up to today and right now is all about wanting everybody to have what I have, because I have this great sense of I can be here for the rest of my life, and it's going to be not just okay, it's going to be great. And I want everybody to know that if you come here and live here, it's going to be great, because we do things that make this a great place, and we can do those things. And we've proven over and over again that we can do those things because we've done them. And I don't know if that makes me a spark plug or just somebody that's willing to talk about it and help others see that there's always hope, that it doesn't matter. Say what you want, because the worst thing that can happen is somebody's going to say no. And then the good thing that can come out of that is it can give you even more gumption to get up and say yes. So when enough of us get up together and say yes, then things start to happen. So I guess that makes me a spark plug, but it really just makes me somebody that really loves my community and really wants everybody in the community and outside of the community to have access to that sense of belonging.
I want everyone to have what I have. The personal need becomes a vision for the community. So you can see the vision, you see the passion, and you see how she gained the trust of other people by taking action, doing what she said she was going to do, creating results. Another one of the spark plugs is Corey Craig. He's the president of Citizens Bank in Rockcastle County, Kentucky. Corey's been involved in all kinds of community development efforts in Rockcastle. I've really enjoyed working with him for the last several years. And, you know, you don't have to talk to Corey very long to find out what motivates him.
That I don't want to, reach that point in my life where my children are 18, 19, 20, early 20s, and they come to me and they say, Dad, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to move way away from you because I can't find any decent work around here to support myself and my future family.
I don't want to have to move away. I can't find any decent work around here. So there's Corey's motivation. So what do? You dig in. You've got to have that passion. You've got to care deeply enough about something to make sacrifices, to give up some of your time and energy. And I know you all know this. You know this choice. I'm going to have to give up some time with my family to help create the community that I want my family to be able to live in. These are tough choices. It's the kind of passion that'll make you grab hold of a dream and not let go. So Corey dug in, and he's committed to a process that's been going on for many years now. It's involved multiple rounds of community strategic planning. But Corey knows that you can't just make the plan. It takes a lot of people to carry out those plans. So they've been working very intentionally on increasing the pool of citizen leaders who are helping to carry the load.
So we've developed this leadership program that we started in 2004 that we're developing an army of doers. And one of the things that we tried to do with the program is not just stop it at the end of the 10 months, but continue involvement of everybody that's gone through that program even after they're out of the program. So that we do have this core group of people that's growing and evolving, staying involved in the solutions, in increasing their shareholder equity, if you will, in the community, so that there is that sense of ownership, there's that sense of possession. This is my community, and I'm going to do something about it kind of attitude. And it's worked for us. We've really been able to get a lot more people involved than were previously.
We have more people saying, this is my community, and I'm going to do something about it. And this is where we begin to see how these spark plugs reach out and bring other people into the work, because they know that they can't do it alone. This is the intersection between individual leadership and team leadership.
What leaders do is they are good partners. They're not really at the top. I mean, if you diagram this, it isn't necessarily that they're at the top. They're sort of holding hands with lots of other people. They're somewhere in there, but they aren't necessarily at the top. It's a misperception about what leadership is. Leadership is the ability to form partnerships and not care who gets the credit. And these spark plugs are all very good leaders.
Vaughn has often said that a big part of what leaders do is to build organizations. And this is what Corey has done, it's what Jerry has done, it's what all the spark plugs that we've worked with have been involved in, building organizations. It's part of what good leaders do. So this next circle out here in the model is about organizations. And again, we have internal elements and external and interactive elements. We see that the internal motivation or passion for the individual is reflected in mission for the organization. A good mission statement explains why your organization exists. It tells the driving force behind your work. It's passion moved out to the organizational level. And the outward-looking dimension of vision is expressed as action by the organization. Organizations provide us with the capacity to turn vision into reality. And while the individual leader needs trust on a one-on-one basis, the organization needs to be able to connect in a lot of ways, and we call this connectivity, to connect internally with effective meetings and good planning processes and attending to all of the things that a group of people need to do to work effectively together. And an organization also needs to connect externally, to connect with other organizations, to build networks, to connect with the people that it serves, to connect with funders and resources. But if we really want to make change happen in the community, then we've got to push this out one step farther. And that's what we're looking at in this outer ring of the model. When organizations take action, they should produce real results in the community. And when we produce results, it changes expectations. It's what Robert Putnam calls social capital. It's the networks, norms, and trust in a community that makes it possible to get things done. So when we talk about expectations or social capital, what we mean is just this. What kind of community do you think you live in? What do people say there about it? Do people feel like it's a great place to live? Or do people feel like it's going to hell in a handbasket? And how do you change that? Well, you change expectations by taking action and producing results. You remember what Jerry said about this?
And we've proven over and over again that we can do those things because we've done them.
Don't try to tell Jerry that you can't make real change happen. And don't ask Corey Craig what's happened to all those big ideas that were in their 2002 strategic plan unless you've got about 20 minutes to listen to the answer. Because he's going to tell you about the new vocational school, $7 million investment in the community. He's going to tell you about the new Chamber of Commerce. He's going to tell you about the leadership program that will have graduated more than 100 citizen leaders by the end of this year. When we push the envelope on what can be accomplished in our communities, we change expectations and everything becomes possible. So the final piece that I want to touch on in this model is structure. You know, to make all this work at the community level, we have to build structures that go beyond the silo of any one organization. You can have good organizations doing excellent work in a community, but if they don't connect up, it's going to limit the amount of real change that happens. So when we bring people together for a strategic planning process, that's building structure in the community. When you bring nonprofits and businesses and banks and politicians and industry together around building a child care center, that's creating structure in the community.
Leadership is the ability to form partnerships and not care who gets the credit. And these spark plugs are all very good leaders.
And this talk about structure reminds me of the old story about the traveler who was walking down the road and he saw 3 workmen and he asked the first workman, "What are you doing?" And the workman said, "I'm laying bricks." And he asked the second workman, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm building a wall." And he asked the third workman the same question, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm building a cathedral." They're all doing the same work. So whether you're working on learning how to do the financial records for your organization, or whether you're learning about grant writing or fundraising or community foundations or leadership development, you're building a cathedral. And I can't wait to see how this cathedral continues to take shape with all of the efforts and energy that you put into it. Thank you for everything that you do. Let's get to work.